part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Welcome back, everybody, to Podcast 616, the official podcast of Earth 616. I'm your host, Damon Royster, and today we are talking about it, the jolly green professional lawyer, She-Hulk. She-Hulk, attorney at law, a.k.a. Green Ally McBeal. Today, I'm joined by two, I assume, legal aficionados. I didn't tell them before I started recording, but I love legal dramas, so please come with that energy. My first guest, you remember him from our conversation about Winter Soldier. He is the funniest man in all of California, and we got him 2 weeks in a row, back-to-back Cumings. Please welcome Ben Cumings.
Hey, everybody. Ben Cumings here, back to talk about my favorite thing in the world, my little Marvel shows and my little Marvel movies.
He's so funny. And down the hall, downstairs in the next room, I don't know their layout of the house, we've got self-proclaimed Ben's girlfriend, Maureen Monahan. Hello, Maureen.
Damn, that's embarrassing. Hi. It's true. I did self-proclaim as Ben's girlfriend earlier, and we are in the same apartment right now. But yeah, I mean, we're about to talk about a very frickin' feminist show. So please show me some respect, Ben.
I will. Actually, we should pretend that we're not dating for this show, because this show is all about being single. That's what the show is like. That's the second plot after being attorney at law.
I feel like I've been stabbed.
Yes.
Wait, the podcast or the show She-Hulk?
The show She-Hulk. She's going through a lot of dating trigger. Great show.
Yes, she is.
Fair. Yes. Yes, we're all single. Ugh, can you imagine? Again, thank you, Ben, for coming on this feminist podcast. Yeah, She-Hulk. Let's go, Maureen. I'm going to put the weight of womankind on your shoulders.
Please, yes.
How did you like She-Hulk Attorney at Law?
Well, I think there's a lot to say about it, but my feelings could be summed up by I didn't really like it that much. I thought there were some fun moments here and there. There were some good performances and good casting. But I really think that, and obviously I will get into it a little bit more, but I felt that I was a little bit let down by how much it seemed to be created with like Twitter discourse in mind, and like having that be kind of the aim, or it seemed like the aim was to influence Twitter discourse and not really to make a good product. And so that was frustrating for me, especially because I feel like the idea had so much potential, but it just like, it felt too in service of tweets and too also influenced by Twitter. And it just felt very like, it felt like that got in the way of the story for me.
Yeah.
I love women and I like the show a lot.
That's the difference. Are you referring to like the kind of incelliness at the end of like the intelligentsia men, like the men hating She-Hulk?
Well, yes. I think in the script, a lot of the humor is very, very referential and very kind of online and Twittery. But then there also, was kind of a running theme throughout the show, which I think was seen in like the marketing of the show too, that like pre-assuming, which I think very well could be true, but pre-assuming that men are gonna hate this, or like incels are gonna hate this. Kind of just like, then it seemed equating criticizing the show with like being an incel, or like if you don't like it, then you're an incel. And I think there are very many like valid criticisms to make about just kind of like the structure and just like overall quality of the show. I thought like it just felt very much for people who even for like Marvel fans, it didn't even really feel made for Marvel fans. It felt like it was made for TV writers who are on Twitter to talk about.
And I'm not an incel, so I loved it.
Okay, kind of a incel-y thing to say.
Yeah.
Maureen, I see what you're saying, and we're going to talk about that finale that really, really,
Mhm.
really bummed me out. Ben Cummings, resident non-incel and non-Hydra member. What did you think of She-Hulk?
I mean, I feel basically the same as Maureen. I like She-Hulk a lot in the comics. I think it's a really fun corner of Marvel. Um, I am a little bit irritated by everyone. Like when people have issues with the writing in this show, people are like on Twitter, the first reply is always like, "Oh, I guess you don't read the comics because she breaks the fourth wall all the time in comics." It's like, yeah, that's true. Except that's like a whole different thing that hadn't been done in the comics medium. That was like its own unique thing specific to the medium using, 'cause she's always like, it's about the panels. It's about the editor. It's all stuff that's specific to comics.
It's a different kind of
breaks,
wall.
Yeah, exactly. And fourth wall breaks happen all the time in TV. And so it's like, I don't know that there was that much like thought put into the translation from the source material.
Well, yeah. Listen, I mean, sorry, Ben. Shut up. A woman is speaking.
I'm so sorry.
Yes, we need that energy. Yes.
Please listen to women.
Put myself on
specifically yes, listen to woman, me. But no, I think that is a good point. Like, I didn't read the comics, but the breaking the fourth wall in a very specific way to the medium, I think like She-Hulk tried to do that because that is why they were like, I don't have a problem with breaking the fourth wall in general in TV, but like I thought my trouble came from the fact that it was self-referential about TV writing, like that it was like self-referential about the medium of TV. And for some reason, even though that is kind of a one-to-one, like, okay, self-referential about the medium of comics, self-referential about the medium of TV, it just kind of hit a sour note for me. And I think part of it is because TV writing is such a privileged, it's not really the same as like comic book writing to me. Like TV writing just feels like there is so much money and privilege and like class stuff like associated with it that it just felt like, oh great, a bottle episode. Like that just felt like it just came across as like smug to me. Like, because not everybody knows like TV writer jargon, and I just feel like it's just like a job that comes with so much like comes from like so much privilege in many cases, and it just like, I don't know, yeah, it just like really rubbed me the wrong way to bring up like TV writery jargon, I guess.
Yeah, and it is funny to consider how much money each of those TV writers made from their WGA contract versus like John Byrne, who redefined the character and wrote all the seminal stuff in the 70s and 80s. Probably got like $2,000, I bet. I mean, that's a perennial problem with Marvel not paying the creators, and it's very interesting the way the money shakes out.
Yes. We love talking about business on this podcast. I have to say, but I totally agree with Maureen. First and foremost,
thank you.
Because when I'm watching the shows, I'm always like, will my family get this? My family, who is very much removed from the entertainment industry, and like, I feel like we're there already. So I'll talk about the moment in the finale that crushed me. Like when she literally crawls out of the Disney Plus menu and goes to meet Kevin Feige, who turns out to be a robot. I'm like, who is this for, if not me, the obsessive person who made a Marvel podcast? That's a lie. I was asked to do this. It's like, I get it, but I like this. It could have been so much easier. The show I wanted was just a legal comedy. This show reminded me so much of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, mostly because Tatiana Maslany looks so much like Rachel Bloom, at least Rachel Bloom.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I had to keep telling myself that's not Rachel Bloom, that's Tatiana Maslany. And I just wanted like a weekly case of the week. I didn't need something serialized. There was barely anything serialized. Like when one of my favorite episodes is when there's like the elf from Asgard who pretends to be Megan Thee Stallion. Like, why can't we just do that every week?
Yeah. Yeah, or I thought the David Pasquesi subplot was great. Like
Mhm.
that kind of stuff was so
Chicago
fun.
icon.
And yes, Chicago icon. But I just felt like it got in its own way in general, by anticipating this backlash anywhere from like hardcore incels to like male Marvel fans who aren't, or whatever, just like, Marvel fans who aren't quite on board with this new kind of like more feminist leaning show. But like I felt like the show became about the backlash, and then even its plot was like the big bad of the show was like an incels organization. And I get it, like incels are definitely like they are a real like insidious force in our world. So I think they're like fair game. But I just feel like this show became way too much about like who isn't gonna like it, and it was more for them than the like fans of the show or like Marvel fans. Like it was like more for its like opposition than like its real audience, and I felt like that made it really not fun to watch. It was just like Twitter jokes over a like skeleton of anticipating criticism, and like really it came from like really a really defensive place that just like rubbed me the wrong way, I think.
Yeah, completely. Man, I agree. It's weird to see your own personality reflected through a TV show, because what you just described is pretty much how I operate in the world.
You're an incel.
No, not an incel, but like, preemptively like trying to get ahead of the criticism.
Just assuming everybody is gonna hate you.
Yeah. I think Ben gets it.
And it felt like the show was like on its guard, in a way that just like it didn't ever feel as fun as it should have felt. I think because there was always this undercurrent of like, and I know some of you are not gonna like this. Like some of you incels are probably gonna think this is bad, but like it just is like, well, like let go of that and like let them think it's bad, but just like try to make a good show first and foremost, rather than like worrying about that,
Oh, absolutely. It has a very much I know what you're thinking energy. I think Jennifer Walters says that several times, like I know what you're thinking. When she breaks the fourth wall. Let's go into some of the characters on this show. Ben Cumings, did you identify with any? There was a lot of female characters, but did you identify with any of them?
Any of the female characters or any of the characters overall?
Any of the characters at all. I was trying to, again, work in this narrative that Ben is an incel.
Yes. Yeah. I would never presume to know what goes on inside a woman's brain, because there's a lot more going on than inside a man's brain.
Not my question.
I would say I don't really know that I like identified or related to really any of the characters, because I like related to She-Hulk feeling like, imposter syndrome or whatever as the Hulk. Yeah. As She-Hulk, but like a lot of the other characters are pretty one note. I mean, they're luckily saved by really good actors, but like her best friend is just like sassy best friend, and then there's like kind of bro guy who's in the office who's funny, but he's just like helpful.
You referred to my husband Josh Segarra.
Yes, Josh Segarra, who I love, playing Pugliese.
Augustus Pugliese.
Yeah, I didn't like that they didn't really put a little English on that name when they pronounced it, but. And I don't relate to Matt Murdock, even though I love that character, because I am not Catholic. But Maureen is Catholic and has a name that's a very Irish name that starts with 2 M's. So she related, I'm sure, to the Devil of Hell's Kitchen.
Are we suggesting that Maureen is Daredevil?
Yes.
Okay.
Which
I could be.
Which puts me at high risk for being killed by Vincent D'Onofrio. But that's a story for the Daredevil podcast that you'll eventually have to do.
Do you hear this man trying to like?
So did you relate to?
Yes, the answer is that I guess I related to She-Hulk, but I don't know that the characterization of that many characters is super deep enough to really relate. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally. I will say, I'll come out of my shame closet. I don't care for the Hulk at all.
What's going on? What are you talking about?
I don't care for this. because I mean, we have She-Hulk, and I feel like we didn't even. I mean, I've never talked about the Hulk on this podcast. But like, the original idea is Hulk, Bruce Banner, and the whole idea of like men having this internal anger that turns them into a monster. It's like, no, it doesn't turn you into a monster. You are a monster. And like having this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing is like, a get out of jail free card of like, oh, it's not me, it's the monster that lives inside me. No, it is you. Come to terms with your anger and your inevitable daddy issues, please. Sorry to roast the Hulk like that, but I've never enjoyed that character. I only liked him when he became Smart Hulk. So I was very apprehensive to get into this show of She-Hulk because I have no relationship with her in the comics. I've only seen her in like, whenever I read like Avengers comics, she was always like in the picture. I'm like, who's that green woman? But I will say that I did enjoy their take on her in this, because I like that idea of her like people love She-Hulk but hate Jennifer Walters. I think that's really interesting, and that's a good flip on that old trope for Bruce Banner. It seemed like they were going in that direction, but it didn't even land there, especially with the finale with the intelligentsia people doing revenge porn at her. And then she hulks out and everyone's like, oh, you're a monster now too. It just nothing really landed. It was like several ideas that didn't really fall into place for me. And
I mean, I thought that revenge porn cliffhanger was great, because I was like, oh, they're going to tackle like an actual issue here that hasn't been dealt with in a lot of popular culture, like mass media. And then it's sort of like they throw her in jail, I guess, but then it's like there's just no payoff on it, or like, and then it doesn't matter because the actual resolution is her, as you said, crawling through the Disney screen.
Yeah.
So
I feel like there's a bigger conversation to be had about that moment of the finale. But just to go back, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but all she did was break the TVs, right? And the audience was like, oh, like we forgot that she, like everybody, like everybody knew that she's She-Hulk and that She-Hulk is strong. And then it was like, it didn't strike me as like particularly violent what she did. Like it was like there was like revenge porn being shown on the TV, and she was like, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. No one could turn it off. And then she like smashed the TV. And that just like, it felt very like unearned. Like it didn't really feel, I guess just like from a like structure and like writing perspective, it didn't really feel like that would have been enough for this crowd of onlookers who prior to that, because it's not like she accepted the award as Jennifer Walters and then hulked out and like scared people. She was already She-Hulk. She goes on stage to get the award, and then the revenge porn starts playing, whatever. She smashes the TV. It just didn't feel like she was really threatening anybody in the crowd, or like that it was a shock that should have been a shock to anybody in the crowd. And it just felt like a very lazy way of kind of like forcing a low moment for her. Yeah. Because like up until then, everybody knew that like that's like the whole point of being She-Hulk is that like Hulk smash. Like
she gonna smash.
Like she's gonna smash.
Yeah.
Women be smashing. But
that's a line from Austin Powers.
Sorry, it says it.
Women be smashing.
Women be smashing.
I have to have been arrested. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, women are smashing the glass ceiling. But it felt like wait, okay, so now we don't like that she's strong. Like she didn't like, it wasn't even like an Iron Man thing where like she's being reckless or whatever with her power. Like it was like nobody was really. No, it seemed like nobody was really in danger when she did that. She like just smashed the TV screen.
Yeah, TV
and like
showing revenge
people
porn,
freaked
totally
out.
Reasonable to like smash the TV, even if you're in human form.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions about the direction. Whoever directed the crowds when they saw Hulkness happen, like there was an episode where Emil Blonsky, the Abomination, was in that cage, and he kind of turns into the Abomination, and he's still in the cage. The crowd freaks the fuck out, and they're like running out of there. I'm like, he's in a cage, and you know why he's in the cage.
Right.
I think they were just directed to be bigger than they needed to be. And then also, I don't know. I'm trying not to rewrite. I think there's a way that could have worked with Jennifer Walters, smashing the TVs, but they didn't go in the way I thought they were going to go. So it feels like a flop. It feels like a flop. I said it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I just think it felt very lazy. Like, it just didn't really check out. It just felt like kind of a convenient just way for them to fake like character development. Yeah, I really didn't. I really wasn't a fan of that moment, and I just felt like it was kind of inconsistent throughout.
Yeah. Inconsistent throughout, but the one thing that is always consistent is us taking a break. So
every time it's so seamless.
It's so seamless. Honestly, thank you so much. My proudest moment is taking us into the break. We're going to take a quick break from Podcast 616 and She-Hulk. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the episodes that we did like. I have one, and I hope my guests have one as well.
I got some.
Okay. There's joy. There's green joy on the horizon. Keep it right here. Podcast 616 will be right back.
Hi, my name is Sam Post, owner of Phenomwell CBD store and phenomwellcbd.com. That's like phenomenal, phenomwellcbd.com. Tune in where we talk with experts about how the amazing hemp plant can make a difference for people's health and well-being from the Press Play Podcast Network.
Welcome, everyone, to Podcast 616, the official podcast of Earth 616. I am your host, Damon Royster, and I am inviting you to listen and subscribe to this Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. On Podcast 616, we gather some of today's greatest comedians, writers, and actors to dive deep into all things Marvel, like comic book history and lore, all the interconnected superhero storylines, and of course, who's hot and who's not in the MCU. Honestly, why aren't you listening right now? You have the power to listen to Podcast 616. And as we always say, with great power comes even greater responsibility. Listen and subscribe to Podcast 616 wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. Here's how Books with Brooks works. We read one book a month, and then we talk about it. Classics like Stephen King's The Shining, debut novels like We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang, and tons of other compelling, life-changing stories, one book and 1 month at a time. So come read along with us, and then listen in.
And we're back. We're back with more She-Hulk talk. I wanted to go into some episodes that we did enjoy, because I think there were glimmers of good in this mess of a show. I'll go to Benjamin Cumings. What episode do you remember fondly from the show?
I will say I remember remarking to Maureen that I liked. I like that wedding bottle episode. They had that weird break in the middle of the series where they like tease Daredevil, and then they're like, "Wait, you're gonna have 2 more filler episodes before you see him."
Yeah.
But then one of them is just the wedding, and I think it was written by Cara Brown, who I liked when she was a co-host on that podcast, Keep It. But that one's great because they have the Patty Harrison cameo, which is really, really funny, or not cameo, but full role. And then the B plot is that my favorite superhero law plot, which was the Mr. Immortal David Parsquaza.
Talk me through, what is the Mr. Immortal plot? What was happening there?
Well, Mr. Immortal, mutant leader of the Great Lakes Avengers in the comic books, is
there's Great Lakes Avengers.
You damn right. But in this show, Mr. Immortal is he's got all these divorce settlements because he keeps dying to get out of being married because he comes back to life after, which is really funny and is just about perfect for Dave Pasquesi, I think. And so I thought that was really fun. And then, Jamila Jamil being who I think was woefully underused because she was having a good time and I was having a good time. Yeah, anytime she was on screen, I was like, this is fun and weird and big, which is what you expect. That's what I think that's my main thing is like when they deliver on what you expect, which is big, fun, kooky superhero stuff. It's really, it works.
Yeah,
totally.
And that episode for me really, really worked.
Totally. Yeah.
And then the other episodes I liked the Daredevil stuff. I think they did a good job with him, and I loved their cute little chemistry. So
Oh, but don't worry, we're going to talk about that Daredevil episode.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Daredevil is charming.
For you, Maureen, any
Well,
episodes
I
stick
was
out to
going
you?
to say the same. I was going to say the same episode. I really liked the wedding episode. I believe it was called Just Jen,
Mhm.
and they like kind of used this. So it was like it was just like borderline, like a little tiny bit too cute, but like I let it slide because the episode was like overall was like so much more fun and just like kind of free of the pitfalls of other episodes. But it was called Just Jen, and they kind of were like framed it as like, we're going to take a break from all this She-Hulk stuff, and this is just Jen. And then Jen goes to a wedding, and Patty Harrison is the bride, and she's so funny. And it just was kind of like really refreshing because it wasn't too self-referential. There was some like, meta stuff. It's like, what, a bottle episode right in the middle of the season? Like, that's weird. It was like I again was willing to let that slide because the rest of the episode was funny and fun, and it moved at a good pace, and we saw Titania again, and like never, like, with all saying this in the nicest way possible, all due respect, never thought I would be like hungry for more Jamila Jamil. Like I was like, I actually wish she would come back. Like never thought I would say that, but yeah, she was fun. It was just like fun, and it felt true to a character. Like I think like that Jen felt the most like relatable and three-dimensional in that episode, because I think it was a little bit free of the pressure of like the Marvel superhero tropes that they were, because it wasn't even like that. It's not even like that the rest of the season had all these tropes. It was just that they were trying so hard to subvert them at every turn that it just like felt very like belabored and like just like trying so hard. It just was like so refreshingly fun and like free of all of this like sort of like self-imposed pressure to prove that they're not like other Marvel stuff. You know, like it just
they're not
felt
like other girls.
Yes. I mean, it did feel like the whole show was devoted a lot of time and energy to this feeling of like, I know what you're expecting from a Marvel thing, but like this isn't that. It was like, okay, well, fine, then just like show us what it is. And I feel like this was one of the few episodes that like showed us what the show could be without all the weight of this, like them feeling this need to like subvert every Marvel thing at every turn. You know, so it just felt like, oh, this is what the show should be. It should be like slice of life, almost like every episode is like a different case or a different like whatever, like nice like A plot, nice B plot with Mr. Immortal. Like Dave Pasquesi was so funny, and it was like also a really good. I felt like it was a really like well written way to have that intersection of like legal drama or like legal comedy and superhero stuff. Like that was like
shenanigans.
Yeah, exactly. Like so funny to have a guy who has been married a million times and keeps killing himself and coming back to life, and like having to settle all these divorce cases with all of his many ex-wives. Like I thought that was so fun, and it was just like a shame that we didn't get to see more episodes like that.
That's so true. Like the show really, if you're the property coming out just before Black Panther 2, chill out. Like like I'm not even trying to think about She-Hulk too hard. Like I've got bigger worries. You know, like they could have just had fun and done more of these like wedding bottle episode type things.
Yeah. And if they had just had fun and made a whole season of episodes that were more along the lines of this wedding one, that sentiment would have come through anyway. It would have felt like very distinct from other Marvel properties. It would have felt fun. It would have felt, you know, irreverent and like not too caught up on Marvel tropes, and like not too caught up on like trying to please the like largely, you know, older white male fan base that Marvel has. Like, but instead they got so caught up on anticipating the criticism that kind of like took over the whole show. And it's like just a shame, because I think that they just were really standing in their way of making a really good season of TV. This wedding episode was like just a really nice bright spot that I think showed us what the show could have been if they got out of their own way a little bit.
Truly. Love the wedding episode, but for me, my favorite one was Dame Charlie Cox, his return to the MCU.
Yes.
Oh my God. Matt Murdock. Okay. I love Matt Murdock, or at least this Daredevil. Did y'all watch the Netflix Daredevil show?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I watched, I think like a season of it, maybe not the second, or not all of the second season, but I watched a good amount of it.
A third of one season.
Okay, well, but I disagree.
Yeah.
I actually disagree. My opinion is that I've seen more than that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know what it was just so nice to see, Matt Murdock back, and like he just had a lightness to him. Maybe the fact that he was in LA and not Hell's Kitchen. But, he comes in to defend Luke Jacobson, this costume designer, which depends on the weather how I feel about that character. Because he was a little too goofy to be dealing with, like, you're telling me who would be the most ridiculous person for him to design for? Who's the most intense superhero? Moon Knight?
Punisher?
The Punisher's going to this guy? He did. I don't know. Luke Jacobson, he is on trial for damaging, what's this guy's name? His
Leapfrog.
Leapfrog, yeah.
Good old ribbit and rip it. But yeah, Daredevil comes to town to deal with that. Before we get into more of this, I do want to institute a quick little acting challenge for the three of us. Could I hear the two of you give me your best ribbit and rip it interpretations? Feel free to add or interpret the line any way you want.
Ribbit and rip it.
Oh
Exactly.
My goodness.
That was Maureen Monahan's ribbit and rip it. Ben Cummings, do you dare try and top that?
I'll do if this show came out in 2008 and they were trying when everything was really dark and gritty. Ribbit and rip it.
Oh, that is good.
That's very good. And then I'll do it the international way. Ribbit and rip it.
Would have been fun if that character was English. I think that would have been a good choice.
It would have been, yeah.
Yeah. Are there any English super? I guess Moon Knight is British.
Yeah, there's
He's from Chicago. He thinks he's British. I think there are English superheroes. There's
a Captain Britain.
Yeah, there's Captain Britain. Kit Harington is going to be the English superhero.
That's right. And
all the Eternals.
Thor sort of has a British accent, but
he's
not really.
Scandinavian, I would say.
He's like from a different planet.
Yeah, a fully different planet that is hella blown up.
Called England. Sorry.
Man.
Sorry. God save the king. Rest in peace,
Damn.
Elizabeth.
I guess we have to.
Yeah, spoilers for those who don't know about
the spoilers for the news. We're a feminist podcast. But yeah, this Daredevil episode, fucking great. I loved that dynamic between Jen and Daredevil. I wish he had stayed, or I wish he had stayed longer, or I wish that was the finale. But I thought they were very dang cute. And I would love Charlie Cox to buy me a drink at a bar.
Yeah, I mean, he really, I think he gets it. What the hell? I know some man babies online were like, it's not dark like the Netflix show. It's like, yeah, but Daredevil comics aren't always dark, and he is sometimes like a swashbuckling, fun-loving guy who's also a flirt. So love him.
Well, yeah. Also, the nature of the like Marvel Cinematic Universe being a universe and not just like a collection of random shows with the potential for crossover doesn't mean that each character is like beholden to the tone of their individual thing. Like I think I thought it was very, very. It was a welcome appearance. I loved seeing him show up in this show and get a chance to be a little like lighter.
I like his little yellow and red suit.
I was going to ask, like, what came first, the red suit or the yellow suit?
The original is the yellow and red, and then pretty quickly they went all red.
Oh, because they were like, this is just a hot dog.
Yeah, it's a preposterous color scheme. But then when he goes all red, then it's cool.
Was that so? His red and yellow, as they call it in the show, is ketchup and mustard outfit. Was that designed by the Jacobson, the designer, and his outfit in the Netflix show is like his New York outfit, or like
Yes,
was there any kind of canon explanation for that?
Once you get about halfway through the first season of that Netflix show, you'll find out who
Oh my
makes his suit in New York, because it is a different tailor. So Melvin Potter will leave you for another discussion.
Damn.
Okay,
Maureen,
whatever.
are you doing okay after getting roasted?
No, I'm crying. I'm upset and crying.
We have to have couples therapy because I shamed her for not knowing about Daredevil's tailor.
Damon, you seem available right now. If you help us.
No, I want to talk about Wong and Madison.
Oh yes.
Yes, of course, Madison. That felt like ages, but like that. I mean, this season felt long, and that felt like a long time ago. Madison, but yeah, she was fun. She was fun.
Benedict Wong is always fun.
Yeah,
he's doing great.
Yeah, I heard someone say, like, do you feel this way? I've heard someone say he's the new Nick Fury of this phase of Marvel.
I don't think that is one-to-one. He is in everything. I think maybe just because other actors might be busy. But
maybe working somewhere else.
But yeah, I felt like Sam Jackson, Nick Fury was like calling the shots, and that's the thing that's different, is that Benedict Wong is not like assembling a team or like, he's kind of hanging out, he's watching Sopranos, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Soprano spoilers in that episode.
That was a crazy spoiler. Like, that's a really big spoiler.
That's like full on ruins the show.
Yeah, that's like a late in the show
yeah.
thing about Adriana. I was like, I can't believe they said that.
Yeah, it definitely felt like antagonistic toward toward like truly just like another way of antagonizing like men on Twitter. Like it felt like it felt like wanting to make Sopranos fans angry or like trolling them a little bit. And it is a big spoiler, but also like
it's a 20-year-old
show.
Year 2022.
Yeah. You can't be caring about Sopranos spoilers in the year of our Lord 2022. But yeah.
This is the last call. Anything about She-Hulk that we did not discuss? Anything that we want to bring up at this point? Now is the time.
Tim Roth was good.
Go ahead, we got a Tim Roth.
Yeah, Ben, that's all I had to say. Tim Roth was fine.
I had a big problem with the character design of She-Hulk.
Let's get into
Why
it.
was she so skinny? Why was she so skinny? Body, like, Hulk does not look like that. Like, what they did to She-Hulk, or like how they designed that character, which I don't know how she was in the comics. Frankly, I don't really care because I don't think that it matters. But like, I just thought she was too skinny. It would be like if they made Hulk look like an Olympic like sprinter or something,
or
like skinny, like, you know, like what I mean?
Green
like
Captain America. Yeah,
totally. It just like bothered me so much that like she should have looked like Louisa from Encanto. For lack of a better reference, she should have like looked like a female like MMA fighter, or like, you know what I mean? Like she was just, yeah, they made her, she was just way too skinny. I don't understand why her hair needed to be straight or like straighter when she was She-Hulk. You know what I mean? Like the character design just really bothered me. Why did they need to give her bigger boobs as She-Hulk? Like, and like, she's not, they just made her look like kind of a Barbie doll. I thought like she definitely had like muscles, but I don't know. It just bothered me that her whole thing is being strong, and like they still had to make her very thin. You know, like I really was just like, why? Like if we're trying to make like a feminist, like subversive show, and we're still gonna be beholden to like this kind of expectation for her body. It just felt like it just made the whole thing feel all the more disingenuous to me that she was so thin.
Dare we say She-Hulk, not a feminist show?
Oh, I mean,
I think I better chime in here.
I don't know. It gets into and I'm sure this is what Ben was about to say much more eloquently, but like it gets into such like iffy territory because it's like a show about a woman. It definitely passes the Bechdel test many times over. Created by women, but all in the service of like, you know, this like huge like capitalist machine that is like Disney and Marvel, and like is that intersectional or is that like, you know what I mean? Like it's like such a like mess when you get into it. But I think like just the fact that they let the male gaze and like these anticipated male opinions from incels or from male Marvel fans who weren't going to like it or whatever, that they let those imaginary or real men, like doesn't really matter, like they let a male point of view guide the show, even though they like claim to be like rebelling against it, rather than just making a good show about a woman who's a lawyer and a superhero. They had to make it about what these men are going to think, and like what, like all the incels weren't going to like it. And I felt like because they let that feeling like dominate the whole show, so it like didn't really ring that. It felt very like obviously like corporate feminist, but like it just felt like it had all the trappings of like a feminist show, but it was like, it just felt very hollow to me because of how much they devoted to like the male perspective. And like, it definitely, I think, cost them like many moments of like authenticity and like real compelling storytelling because they were so focused on what men would think about it. And like, yeah, I mean, I think you feel it even in the finale. It's like, well, no one asked you to make. I mean, I don't know. We haven't really talked about that like big twist in the finale that much, but
is it a twist?
Like, I mean, they definitely thought it was a twist, but like, why not just make a good, like, okay, if you think that like sticking to the Marvel formula is inherently bad, like, I think there are ways to not stick to the formula without being like, well, you asked us to do it this way. It's like, well, no one asked you to end the show in any particular way. Like, why not just like do a real ending that's not like so meta for no reason?
Yeah, to the point where like that ending, let's just talk about that ending while we're here. It's like, I didn't even understand, was that real? Was anything real? Like, it just, like, suddenly Daredevil's back in LA. It's like, why? Like, it made me, I don't trust She-Hulk at the end of like the show She-Hulk. Like, I just don't trust anything that I saw. It just was so
totally.
And also, you know, shout out to one of our best listeners, Noah Gregopoulos. We all know who he is. The one he had one note that I still carry with me to this day about improv, about how when you break the fourth wall, it's like crack to the audience because like they just are addicted to you, like calling out the fact that you're doing an improv show. And it's some of the laziest work you can ever do. And She-Hulk did that, like to step out of the television screen literally and go to Marvel Studios and talk about Marvel is so lazy. And also it made me mad. It reminded me of fucking Glee, because Glee would do this all the time where they would do stupid shit and then they would call it out and said they were doing stupid shit, but that doesn't negate the fact that you're doing stupid lazy shit, like Kurt getting a job at Vogue.com his freshman year of college. Get the fuck out of here, Kurt Hummel. I remember his name. And this just reminded me of that. It's such a lazy way. It's like you couldn't figure out an ending, and you're like, well, we're meta, so I guess we'll have a meta ending. I just can't believe grown adults
it was
did this.
Even like borderline gross, because they also made a joke about like their CGI. They like tried to address all the criticisms, and then one of them was like CGI, and it's like, oh yeah, the people that I read about in the like trades who are like super underpaid and overworked, who like can't keep up with demand because you guys don't let them unionize. It's like, anyways, you know. But I did want to add that Noah once told me we need to. It's not just about electing new people in power. We need to dismantle the whole system and start from scratch. And that's, I think, also a note they should have taken in She-Hulk. She should have been an anarchist.
Noah taught you that?
Yeah, he told me one time that we need to dismantle the government.
Tell you how to make Molotov cocktails, right?
So that's just another note that I thought I would pass along to the She-Hulk writers if they're listening.
Noah doesn't listen to this podcast, just for the record.
You know?
Well, good. Noah never told me anything, so I don't have any Noah wisdom to impart. But I agree with all of your criticisms about the finale, and would add that the reason why She-Hulk is like, okay, I have to go meta or whatever, like what the reason why she breaks the fourth wall and does this long sequence is, as she says, is like her frustration with forcing is like forcing an ending, or like everything, like all these overlapping like appearances by people, and like forcing like this big spectacle, this big final battle that like doesn't really make sense and like isn't really earned, and like, oh, like Abomination is here now, and like so and so is here, so and so is here. It's like she's like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, let me do my ending. Like, instead of just like you guys throwing all this plot around, like let me like end it my way. And then it kind of just proceeds to throw more plot around and do more spectacle. It's just different spectacle. It's just meta spectacle. Like, it's not, nothing is resolved other than that she like talks to the robot and is like, can we end the show? And he's like, okay. And then they're all eating dinner in their backyard.
And then they introduced the Hulk's son from another planet, and he's got his head shaved to like halfway. Like, what are you talking about?
Why?
Yeah.
And we didn't even see her we see her walk into a courthouse, and we don't even see her do law when the show is called She-Hulk, Attorney at Law.
And by the way, as a fan of legal procedurals, I'm sure you liked how every court case is just the judge sort of at the end goes, okay, well, let's wrap this up in She-Hulk's favor. It's like, not at all.
Which,
like, there's no like legal.
I mean, I'll forgive a certain amount of like deviating from the actual legal process, because the actual legal process is probably doesn't make for good TV a lot of the time. But like, so I can understand like deviating from it a little bit, or like fudging it a little bit. But like, if I recall correctly, at the end of the show, there's some sort of thing where someone is talking to Jen and is like, so are you going to do law or are you going to be Hulk? And she's like, both. And it's like, well, okay, like what has this show been about? Like, she's going to do law and she's going to smash. Like, the whole show should have been about her trying to like negotiate these two sides of herself and figuring out how to be a Hulk and how to be a lawyer and how to like when to be who, and like, I'm gonna do both. No elaboration. Like, it's like we learned nothing about this.
You, Missy Elliott.
Like, yeah, just like so like, okay, because you like said it confidently, we're supposed to believe that this is like a resolution for this show. Like, it just it felt so unearned that she was like, I'm gonna be a lawyer and I'm gonna smash. Okay, bye. That's the show. It's like, well, that's okay. That's what the show's been this whole time, I guess.
She-Hulk, an unearned ending, but an ending that we always earn here on Podcast 616 is our weekly Fuck, Marry, Kill.
Yeah,
is that good? I think that was pretty good.
That was another seamless.
Thank you.
That was really
seamless. Good. Order food for me. So we're gonna do. This is Fuck, Marry, Kill Hulk edition. Our choices today are She-Hulk herself, Bruce Banner, Smart Hulk, played by Mark Ruffalo. Barely talked about him, and I'm okay with that. And finally, Emil Blonsky, the Abomination. We are going to do Fuck, Marry, Kill. If you don't know how to play, just listen. I'll go first to give my guest time to think. I believe I'm going to kill the Abomination. He has gills on his head, but he does not live in the water. That's confusing. He's too wet. He's also wet, but I don't know why. I just don't like the look. I'm going to kill the Abomination with my own bare hands. And
all right.
My fuck will, of course, be Smart Hulk. I love a hulking man. There's just a lot going on there. Good to climb. I'm pro that for just one night. Una noche. For my 98 degrees fans out there. And then I'm going to marry She-Hulk. I'm going to marry Jennifer Walters. I think we have a lot of the same insecurities, and I think we could help each other out. It's going to be a very platonic marriage, TBH, but I think it's going to be great. Those are my picks. Let's go to Maureen. Who are you picking today?
Thank you. Honestly, I didn't plan this, but you'll find that it's very similar to your answer. And I will say, kill the Abomination. He seems like a bad kind of guy, a villain. I don't like his stupid retreat in the woods.
I remember that.
He is not licensed as a mental health professional. He's running a scam. Doesn't seem to really be helping, and he's still taking money to do those speaking gigs. Therefore, also like totally invalidating the whole his whole character's like thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, okay, so he's just like. Anyway, don't need to get back into the like script inconsistencies, but I would kill the Abomination because he's bad and I don't like him. I would fuck Smart Hulk for obvious reasons of being attractive.
Those glasses?
He looks good in the crew neck sweater. Then I would marry She-Hulk so that she could shut up about being single in her 30s and we could have a show free of that subplot, because I felt like I never wanted to hear about it ever. It was not interesting to me. And if we got married, then maybe she would finally focus on her career.
Finally. Beautiful. I love those choices. I obviously agree. Yeah. Resident. Oh God, Ben, what are you? What did we land on? What are you today?
Comedian, really great comedian.
I think at the end of the day, yeah, Ben's a comedian. Comedian Ben Cumings. Who are your picks?
I'll shake things up a bit. Let me tell you this much. I would fuck the Abomination. He is tough, special forces, Cockney guy. That's a fun one that I've never had. So I
never had. What are you?
I don't know why I said that. It's an insane thing to say.
Like Lord of the Estate.
Never had that.
I already knew this was going to be a disaster. And I want to touch them gills and them fins on his head.
Wow.
Then I'm going to, for my own financial stability, marry the Hulk, because he said in Thor Ragnarok that he has like 7 PhDs, which is not like possible, but that's got to be bringing in some good money with all of his state-funded gamma research.
I mean, he saved the world,
and he's got
that be in a lot of debt, though.
He could be in a lot of debt. I never considered that he could be in a lot of debt. That's very fair.
And also, he's got to be a stepfather because he's got a son.
That's true, but I could raise Scar to be an Earthling.
I don't know. Scar seems like a little shit. He has that undercut.
Yeah. So weird. Not a comics thing. Just a crazy decision they made. Anyways, so I would marry, and that unfortunately means, even though this is a feminist podcast, I have to kill She-Hulk. But I think that's okay, because she is going to be with her boyfriend Daredevil, who that's who she's supposed to be with. So I wouldn't want to change that, and so unfortunately,
so you're doing like suicide by Daredevil.
Yes,
you're like going to try to kill She-Hulk so that Daredevil will kill you.
Daredevil doesn't kill most of the time, but yeah.
Oh, he would kill you if you killed She-Hulk.
That's true. Yeah,
absolutely.
So unfortunately, that's the way things are going to shake out, especially since I can't.
Well, unfortunately, you also just proved correct Jennifer Walters's monologue from the pilot episode, where she says, "Sometimes men will just want to straight up kill me for no reason."
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's why I need to be married to the Hulk, so he can give me those great reaction shots of him going.
The nod. Yeah.
Beautiful. Much like She-Hulk, what a tragic ending to that game. Thank you all so much for being here. Let's go through the social media things. Maureen Monahan, where can people find you on the internet?
On Twitter at Mo Monahan. One word, MOMONAHAN. That's the main thing. You can follow me on Twitter if you want. You have to be nice.
Please, if you're listening, you have to. You hear that, Isaac Snyder? My only person I know is listening. You have to be nice. Ben Cumings, where can people find you?
You can follow me at Ben Cumings. That's BenCumings, just the one M in Cumings. You follow me there. That handle is the same for Twitter and Instagram. So that's where you can follow me.
Oh, yeah. This is Podcast 616. You can follow us on Twitter at Podcast 616P3. That P3 stands for Press Play Productions, the network that is housing us and allowing us to have these takedowns of Marvel shows. You can also follow me at Damon Royster on Instagram and Damon Royster 88 on Twitter. That's about it for me. Shout out to producer Michael. Wish you were here. I think he would give us an A+ for this podcast episode. Ben and Maureen, thank you so much for being on this podcast. I hope your relationship is intact after this
Ben,
discussion.
we have to talk.
Yes, dear.
Podcast 616, bringing people together as always. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll be back next week to finish out Captain America and begin talking about Black Panther. So please keep coming back. And remember that with great power comes even greater responsibility.